Bayshell Tootin fumbles, Marvin Harrison Jr. up 15 pounds. How much should we care from a dynasty perspective? We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Madjuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today is Matt Williamson. You can follow him on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. You can check him out all over the Locked On Podcast Network. And we are getting to your Twitter questions today. And Matt, this first one is interesting. It comes from Jeff. He wants to know, how much do you guys care, or how much weight do you put into OTA news and nuggets? And let me give you an example, Matt. Yesterday, Bayshell Tootin, the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4th-round pick, he had a lot of fumbling issues coming into the league, and on his very first touch, he fumbles in 7-on-7. Okay, and Liam Cohen, the Jags head coach, said, "Hey, it's not great. It stands out that he's already fumbling." How much stock
7-on-7?
I mean,
you get hit by a nose tackle, right?
How much stock should we put into OTA news?
All right, so the short answer is very, 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 very little. But one thing I do have some interest in is people put on weight, shed weight, how the body changes. I mean, there's now, like, I'm going to be broadcasting from the Steeler OTA, so I'll actually get my eyes on their rookie for the first time, or DK Metcalf for the first time, new members. So I'm kind of interested in that. But I am interested in sizes, the shed weight, that type of thing. But overall, so let me start here. Everyone's excited for more and more football, and it happens to correlate often with our rookie drafts in times of time of year. So we're hyper focused on Dynasty for this month. So any little news, should I take him or not? At 2.7 or 2.8, that type of thing. I would not overreact. I mean, these OTAs, mini camps, to me, the best analogy for them is this is like kindergarten and first grade to get you ready for high school. I mean, all the veterans are in high school or college, and you're trying to get these guys little things like, how do we practice in the NFL? Speed, tempo, hitting. Yes, we want you to be aggressive, but you can't blast your teammate. I mean, things like that, or just getting everyone in the facility together and everyone in the same building, getting to know each other, entry level stuff with the playbook, where the cafeteria is, how you park your car. I mean, that kind of thing. So this is so far from a training camp practice. There's no hitting. Even the individual drills it's boring. I'll be honest with you.
It's like a glorified walkthrough is really what it is.
It really is. It really is. I mean, like, if you look at the O-line individual drills, okay, let's work on our footwork a little bit and hand placement. I mean, like, they hardly even stun the sled, so this is kindergarten. So please don't overreact.
Yeah, I mean, and we have recent stories, right? Remember the Jamar Chase? That was even during training camp, like, hey, drops. Brian Thomas Jr., I remember the big thing coming out of OTAs last year. Hey, he's really raw as a route runner. He's a long ways away. But you know what's not a long ways away? When you're 6'3", 210 pounds, and you can run a 4.31. Like, that's going to translate to the NFL. So I'm with you. Like, I generally don't overreact to this kind of stuff too much. But for someone like Bayshell Tootin, it's a little too on the nose that hey, we were worried about the fumbling stuff and you're already fumbling. I'm not moving him down, obviously, right, off of one OTA fumble. But man, it just kind of reemphasizes how risky of a player he is, because if he can't hold on to the football, he just might not ever play. I mean, behind Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. So I'm just a little spooked in this case, but I wanted to go back to Marvin Harrison Jr. because
before you do, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
So with running backs, rookies, two things keep them off the field is pass protection and fumbles.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a trust factor. And they have to prove both those things. So that's not a great first step, don't get me wrong. But I also wonder, was it a botched handoff? I mean, he didn't get hit. I mean, how did he fumble? I mean, so that to me, who knows? Now, I urge everyone strongly to realize what's going on here, too. Like, when I go down to Steeler minicamp, there will be 15 to 20 reporters, and they all have an assignment. They have to write something.
Yeah.
Now, of those 15 or 20, and I'll say this at any given city, I'm not calling out the dudes I hang with on the Pittsburgh sidelines. I would say 5 of those 20 would even know if Brian Thomas was a raw route runner or not. And they're not even bad at their job.
That seems like even a high number.
Right.
Yeah.
That's running 3/4 speed, on a go route down the sidelines. I mean, they don't know the subtleties of route running too. So just realize where the information is coming from, and they have to write something. That's their job. It would be hard to create stories from those OTAs.
So I'm just ready for the Will Howard. Looks like the next franchise quarterback. After throwing a nice little dig route, right? Like that's coming. Right,
that's coming, right? Especially if like Rodgers isn't there, he's going to get a ton of reps. Oh, he's taking he's the front runner for the starting job.
I did want to ask you about the weight stuff because this is something that I do care about is the kind of the body composition. And I saw a picture of Marvin Harrison Jr. or he was speaking at the podium and he looked massive. Like his arms were jacked.
Yeah, I saw that.
And honestly, part of me is like, no, Marvin, like I want you to be quicker. I don't need you to try to be a bully on the outside. I know you're going to be an X receiver. How much do you take stock of that kind of stuff when you see it?
See, I kind of thought the opposite, but I'm also fresh off of Matt Harmon is putting out his second-year reception perception data right now, his profiles. And I had read Harrison's like 2 days before I saw that. And Matt's conclusion or suggestion for the Cardinals was quit asking him to do all the hard stuff, X receiver, He said try to be more like CD Lamb.
Give him some more layup targets.
Use him from the slot, get him over the middle, let's, move him around a little more. And my initial thoughts were maybe they are seeing it the same way Matt does and bulk him up for middle of the field stuff. But if he's slower, that's bad.
Yeah, and I guess I look at, if you're using that same example, CeeDee Lamb, he's so wiry, and he kind of needs to be in the middle of the field because you've got to be quick. You got to make plays after the catch. Again, we're reading into Marvin Harrison sitting at a podium and his arms looking jacked.
Good,
like
right.
This is what you have to do in May when there's not a lot of real football news. But I do think some of this matters. I'm going to give you a good example from your neck of the woods. I thought in year 2 when Le'Veon Bell shed a bunch of weight.
That's important.
Written from 240 to 220. Like that's the kind of stuff I do care about when these bigger running backs are cutting weight to become more explosive. That's generally the better trend than going the other way and seeing these guys try to put on muscle so they can handle a bigger workload.
Yes, that's a phenomenal example to at least change your opinion or open your eyes that the team wants to use him differently or he wants to be used differently. If you're going to make that big of a body change, yes. But to use the exact same example, all the dudes I know that have been covering the team forever, this time of year, somebody would inevitably write, Jerome Bettis is in the best shape of his life. And you'd see him, and he still looks like he's 260 and built like a bowling ball.
Be careful.
He doesn't look
some of those are coming from the agent, right? Hey,
right. He trimmed 2 pounds. He stopped just eating pizza or something. I mean, he still looks hard to tackle.
He missed
pretty
one meal, right?
Right.
Just be on the lookout for that. So let's talk about some actual NFL news, kind of. Kyren Williams appears to be close to signing a contract extension. What does that mean for his dynasty value? We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Here's how it works. You post your job, and LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Use the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. It's no wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are answering your Twitter questions. And Matt, we've got a good one here from Jake on Kyren Williams. There was some news that came out over the last couple of days that the Rams and Kyren Williams are working towards a contract extension. Right now over on Dynasty League Football, Kyren Williams, RB11. He's been one of the most productive backs we've had over the last couple of years. If he signs a deal, what does that mean for his dynasty value?
So I have a lot to think about on this one too. First off, I would really study the contract. Is it a 1-year deal that looks like it's better than that? Is it a year-by-year type of deal?
Well, does it even matter, Matt? Let's say you've got hit this year, 2025, last year was contract, and 2026 is fully guaranteed. We always talk about running back really being a 1 to 2 year position anyways. If this just locks him in for 1 extra year, I would think that would have a big impact on his value.
Yeah, I do too. And full disclosure, this is a player I have sold short every step of the way. I don't think I've ever owned a share of Kyren Williams in any fantasy league. And frankly, I've been wrong. I just was never blown away with him physically. I respected all the stuff coming out of Notre Dame. Team captain, everyone loves him. Good in protection, reliable. And I think the Rams 100% agree. I think they love the human being, the player, the player makeup, the mentality. But a little known fact, every year that Sean McVay has been the head coach of the Rams, they've drafted a running back. Every year, including this past year in round 4 and the year before in round 3. So Akers was their first pick the 1 year, so it's not even like just a 7th round throwaway selection. They draft one every year. And I have no reason to think that's going to stop all of a sudden because McVay's been the coach there a long time. And apparently they believe in it and they see the league a little different than other teams. So it's good, but I would not go crazy. But I want to be obvious that I have a little bias against the player too. I do sell him short a bit.
So I don't know if it changes his value a ton because he's RB11. It's not like
he doesn't go pain.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's RB9 right now. Omarion Hampton RB7. Like he's not going to jump those guys, even if he signs a deal, right?
Might be a selling opportunity.
It might be a selling opportunity, but honestly, what it is probably more than anything else is it's a sign that they just have no faith that Blake Corum, who they drafted in the 3rd round next year or last year, is going to be a viable option. They drafted Jarquez Hunter in the 4th round. I think it's just more he stays the same, and maybe that ADP continues to stay the same for the next 6 or 12 months. Yeah. But I don't think this moves him up at all.
No. If I was an owner of Williams, I wouldn't love him changing teams. So it's a little bit of security. You're happy about it if you own him. But if people overreact and say, wow, he's the next Henry Barkley extension type guy, I would be like, well, what do you want for? Or what are you going to give me for? Right.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought up Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry just signed a 2-year extension last week. I think it actually became official on Monday. He is up to RB10 in dynasty leagues right now, which is wild. Man, I can't think of the last time we've had a 31-year-old that's still being ranked as a top 10 dynasty running back. But what are your thoughts about it?
That's rich. But full disclosure, and I do this to running backs apparently a lot, and you picked out 2 of my favorites. I sell Henry short every redraft season, and I never draft him. He's going to hit the wall. This can't be the year I'm going to invest in him, and he proves me wrong year after year after year, and his situation is phenomenal. And Ryan and I used to always say running backs, treat them like redraft, and this redraft season, I'm going to have no problem jumping in with 2 feet on Henry. I think he's set up for an awesome season on an awesome offense with a rare quarterback sidekick. But boy, that does seem a little rich.
let me give you some of the running backs that are going behind him right now, just to kind of see where we're at. Kyren Williams, RB11. Which one of those would you prefer straight up?
Probably go Williams.
I would go Williams as well. Travion Henderson, RB12.
Henderson.
I would agree. Christian McCaffrey, RB13.
I was about to say, what about McCaffrey? I mean, there's some apples to apples there in terms of age.
3 years younger, Christian McCaffrey is. You and Brian Peacock have talked about, like, at some point they're going to start transitioning him more to not a full-time receiver, but maybe giving him more work as a receiver. So that part of it is interesting. I think I would just go with Derrick Henry. Like, part of me just thinks that his body is going to hold up better.
Yeah.
And when you're playing with Lamar Jackson, it doesn't really matter. We've seen Mark Ingram lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Gus Edwards, who we think is kind of a middling talent. Like, all these guys are super productive because of Lamar Jackson.
I think even before last year, like before pre-Henry, and Dobbins was a decent player, but you mentioned Gus Edwards. I think this is the number, but Lamar Jackson's running backs over his career, not pre-Henry, averaged like 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's because of him.
Absurd. Yeah,
it's TJ Duckett and Dunn with Michael Vick.
Well, as I say,
right.
Chris Johnson with Vince Young. Like, we have this long history of mobile quarterbacks helping the run game more than anything else.
And we have some recency bias with McCaffrey too. I mean, it'd been nice if he played last year, Yeah,
exactly. A couple other running backs: Chase Brown, RB14; Josh Jacobs, RB15; Quinshon Judkins, RB16.
No, on all those guys. Maybe Judkins, but I have very little faith in the Browns. Like, are you taking like Kenneth Walker ahead of him?
No.
I'm a Walker fan.
I'm a Walker fan too, but like, he's had his own problems staying healthy on the field as well. I will tell you the one that is fascinating to me is James Cook, RB18. I like James Cook a lot. I don't know if I would take him over Derrick Henry, but if somebody offered me that straight up, I'm probably like going on a long walk and thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm shocked that they're that far away. I mean, if I could get Cook in a second, yes, for sure.
All right, Matt, let's talk about the Tush Push, which is being voted on right now as we speak. If it's passed, how much will that change Jalen Hurts' dynasty value? We will get to that next. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Scouting Show. As training camps get closer and moves are being made, hosts Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, again, Matt, we've got the Tush Push being voted on. I know there was a lot of reports this morning saying that there's a lot of support to get rid of this play. If it does get passed and we no longer have the Tush Push, how much do you think that's going to impact Jalen Hurts' dynasty value? Because so much of his production comes from these rushing touchdowns. He's currently quarterback 4 in dynasty leagues. Do you move him down a little bit?
So this will probably be old news by the time people listen. There's probably an answer by then. But in the original of the big owners meetings in Florida, the vote was 16-16. And we interviewed Mike Tomlin, who's on the coaches or on the competition committee.
Yep.
And he said a big problem is when we vote on these things, there's just not much data. There's only been like 200 tush pushes in the history of the league for us to go off of. So it's hard to tell if this is going to be an injury problem. It's a small sample size to change a rule over. They need 24 votes to switch it or to change the rule. So we'll see if that happens or not. People probably know it by now.
Yeah.
Yes, it hurts, but I don't know that it destroys him. Like, you think the Eagles all of a sudden are going to stop doing traditional quarterback sneaks?
No, of course.
No, I mean, he's still going to get a lot of carries, a lot of short yardage stuff, a lot of goal line stuff. I do think, and this doesn't really affect Dynasty, it's more of an NFL thought, that I think it's big, and same with like the Lions that always go for it on 4th, or Washington, that it greatly changes like second down play calling. If you kind of know you can go for it on 4th, 3rd and 6 can be a rundown. You know what I mean? Like, so it does change some strategy, but I would not destroy Hurts for it. Maybe 2 touchdowns a year.
I was going to say, I just saw Mike Clay from ESPN. His projections are 2.8 fewer rushing touchdowns per season for Jalen Hurts.
Wow.
But
It's a lot, but is it enough to change a dynasty rank?
Well, I was gonna say,
right.
and then he has him like one more passing touchdown per season, right?
Okay.
So like a little loss, but are you really changing him that much? Probably not. I will say, Matt, the one player that probably will benefit the most from this is Saquon Barkley.
I would say Barkley would be happy,
Yeah, last year Saquon Barkley got tackled at the 1 yard line 11 times.
I know.
This is the actual stat. 11 times he got tackled at the 1 yard line, and he scored 0 touchdowns on the next run because he just didn't get the opportunity. So let's say Saquon Barkley gets 3 or 4 more rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's a massive boost to his fantasy value.
And that's just unlucky being tackled at the 1.
Yeah.
I mean, most teams would have given it to him after that. He didn't, but he's not going to get tackled at the 1 5 times next year, probably.
Probably not. So I do think it's going to have an impact. Here's the thing for me. I look at the quarterback rankings right now in Dynasty League football. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts at QB4. Even if we wanted to downgrade Hurts slightly, you're not moving Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes ahead of Hurts because the rushing potential is just not there.
Right. And I think the 3 ahead of him should be ahead of him.
Correct.
And it's still a question of who is number 5. You know, I mean, there's a gap. There's a bigger gap from 4 to 5 to me than 3 to 4.
Oh yeah, I think the bigger question is who is QB5 right now for? Is it Burrow or Mahomes for you?
Burrow.
Is it?
Yeah, it's close though. Mahomes doesn't run during the regular season, but I think he's up for a huge season.
I worry so much about you not being able to use Burrow for like half the season because he just gets hurt so much. I will say one of the more fascinating things. Do you want to guess who QB7 is right now based on ADP and by a wide margin?
So this seems like it should be very obvious, and I don't know off the top of my head.
So there is a bigger gap between QB7 and QB8 than QB6 and QB7. And it's Kyler Murray at QB7 right now.
That seems like it's not a real stable ranking either, that he could maybe go up or people get sick of him after this year too.
Do you think people are just projecting the Marvin Harrison breakout and that's why we're ranking Kyler so high?
Maybe, but I wouldn't be shocked if a year from now if that's like Drake May or somebody along those lines. I mean, I don't think that's a real stable ranking on Kyler.
I don't think it's Kyler a lock to be in Arizona in 2026.
75%.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I feel the same way.
Right.
All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Go check out the channel on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Matt on Twitter at Williamson NFL. You can follow me at Marcus_Mosher. On Thursday's show, we're going to take a look at the biggest ADP risers in the month of May. On Friday, we'll take a look at the biggest fallers. Be sure to tune in to that. Again, download the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Free and available on all platforms. And we'll see you right back here on Thursday.